It doesn't matter what they say, I won't accept it in any single way. Through the force and through the cabling, they're permeating it through every single day. But I won't be confined by the regimented borders. We got the strength of over 50,000 soldiers. We're not duty bound to anybody's orders. I want everybody now, don't let them run you. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Don't let them run you. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Don't let them run you. It doesn't matter what they say, I won't accept it in any single way. Through the force and through the cabling, they're permeating it through every single day. But I won't be confined by the regimented borders. We got the strength of over 50,000 soldiers. We're not duty bound to anybody's orders. I want everybody now, don't let them run you.
I finished a minute after this, I think. It was pretty obvious at the end, but my videos can only go 10 minutes. Yeah, spoiler alert, no, heck no, I did not carry in the hunters too. Like, I put my mic on and told those guys, like, hey, just so you know, we're dead now. We can't do the freaking hunters. No, honestly, no one can except with luck and incredibly specific builds. If the hunters didn't spawn skills that negate your armor on top of it too, I feel like my tank build here could take them on, especially because I can take on the hunters in countdown. Like, I don't take massive damage from the hunters in countdown, but the hunters in summits, they're totally different because they summon skills that bypass your armor. Like, the hunters melee one-shots you. That's bad enough. Then their skills also one-shot you. Like, a sniper turret cast from one of those hunters literally one-shots me from full health on this build. It's completely stupid and absurd to me, but it is what it is. They force you to only play gun builds, but then that sucks too because not only are you frail dealing with hunters, but you're in a tight little quarter. You're in a tight space, so there's nowhere for you to run from them, pretty much. There's hardly any cover in the whole room, and it is a nightmare. I've dealt with a lot of BS this game. The Summit Floor 100 is by and large the most unfair thing in this whole game. It's the most BS thing in this whole game. Like, I can't think of anything that's more BS than the Summit Floor 100 hunters. Like, they are absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, so yeah, I didn't obviously do that. But I mean, the room before the hunters here, you can tell, is like also, I would say it's definitely the hardest room of the summit floors because it seems like they spawn a ton of enemies, a ton of like specific types of enemies. Like, there's always lots of explosives, lots of medics, like all over the freaking place. So I always notice that I struggle more on that zone than other floors. I can solo legendary that floor, by the way, but when I did it, I died multiple times. It was not fun trying to solo that floor legendary on this build. It was a nightmare, but I did it. I highly doubt I could carry someone on it. Now, when this guy has maxed out expertise and maxed out SHD combined, maybe. I mean, that still won't be a huge improvement if you know how little those things give you anyway, but still, that combined will be a substantial improvement to both my damage and armor once I actually get both of them. It'll be like a chunk, a nice little decent chunk of both damage and durability increase. So when I get all that maxed out, at that point I think I'll try it again, and I think I'm confident I'll be able to solo legendary more consistently on it. But as for carrying, we'll have to just see. I have no idea. Because you see, it's hard for me to carry on heroic here. That's what's so weird in this game, because like I can solo legendary like certain zones and other missions, but then this zone on heroic feels harder than that. Just like I said in previous videos, like the control points on heroic for Brooklyn specifically, the Brooklyn control points on heroic feel in some ways harder to me to do than legendary missions. It really just depends on what you're playing, I guess. Anyway, like, this is the same. If you want to know this build, it's the same build in my other videos. I'll just briefly say what I'm using. Like, we got Sweet Dream Shotgun, a good LMG just for raw damage, the custom card pistol that gives you a skill tier with Reformation Talent on it. The skill tier is just so that it further increases my fixer drone healing, because whenever I deploy my shield and go to my pistol, it's usually because I need to heal my armor, so I might as well use the pistol that will give me even more healing. It's not much, but still, I still feel like it's better than any other attribute I could put on the pistol, because my damage and crit chance and crit damage is so low anyway. Anything like that would be like hardly any improvement on my damage anyway, so that's why I figured stick with what the build's about then, tanking, so just add even more healing on my pistol. And then put Reformation so I can heal my shield since I'm not doing Technician Tree. So yeah, those are my weapons. I'm of course using the Catharsis mask. I'm using 4-piece Foundry, and specifically I'm using the Foundry backpack and chest piece, because they are both, like, if you want to get the most out of regen specifically for your armor and shield, I've noticed those two are almost a requirement. Definitely, what's the one? I can't remember now, but the one that halves the repair time, I think it's your backpack. I think the backpack, in my view, is virtually a requirement now in Foundry builds, for my view. Otherwise, I don't even want to bother using a build someone shows me with Foundry that doesn't use the backpack. But the armor, I think, the armor is still good too. It's very good, actually, but it's not as good as the backpack, so you can maybe justify using a different chest piece. But I still think they're both combined too good to pass up. And then I'm using an improvised crafted knee pads so that I can have another protection from elite bonus on it. And then it has armor regen and repair skills on it. And then obviously I have armor 6 armor cores on all of them. And I go armor regen on all of my pieces too. My Foundry pieces, because people say that's not good, but I disagree. Explosive resist doesn't really protect my shield, which is really what takes the most damage, and it doesn't prevent me from getting staggered by explosives, which is really the most annoying part of explosives. And then hazard protection doesn't really protect me from much anyway. I rarely ever die from shock when it does happen. And then burns and bleeds do so little damage over time compared to my tankiness on this guy that I just don't feel like it's needed either, and the armor regen just helps fight against both those anyway. Because that's the point, as I've said before, armor regen helps you against everything. Now, does the blue armor regen cores, are they giving me the most amount of regen on this build? No, it's the Foundry buffs combined with Catharsis that stack the most amount of armor regen. But those blue cores, especially combined with the fixer drones, still give me a decent amount. Like, I'm still recharging a lot of, like, if I don't, because there's certain situations that Catharsis obviously isn't healing me, and also Foundry isn't healing me. Even if I took a lot of damage, because I might have taken just one. I notice if I take a bunch of damage from just a single source, from like one hit from something, it doesn't trigger as much healing from Foundry. And then it'll go away too. So I might take a bunch of damage from like a sniper or something, or an explosive that takes like half my armor out. And then in the meantime, there's no enemies around me damaging me, and so my armor isn't recovering as much. And then the Foundry healing goes away before it's able to restore me back to full. In those situations, yeah, I still like my armor regen cores and my fixture drone, because they still heal me a good amount too combined, and top my armor off back up to maximum by the time I'm taking damage again, which in my view that's the key to survivability, obviously, is always making sure you're regening enough that your armor, when you're about to take massive damage, is as high as your armor can be. So that's why it's always good to try to be at maximum armor as quickly as you can. But obviously on this Foundry build, you also want to be you want to take armor damage, because that's how you heal your shield too, and I like alternate between the two, is what I do. Also, I just don't want to rely on my pistol constantly, because I want to use Sweet Dreams to one-shot the red and purple enemies that are also the biggest threat to me too. And it lets this guy still contribute to killing and damage, you could say, for the team, because I can at least one-shot some of those basic enemies. And then I use my LMG without my shield to still do decent, damage for this build at least. It's more damage it's more consistent damage than, way more than my pistol, and more than my shotgun too, when I switch and just unload my LMG into something. So anyway, let me shut up now. Getting close to 20 minutes now. I've been talking too much about it, but yeah, that's pretty much the build. Oh, and yeah, I use Survivalist skill tree, because I don't use Technician, I don't use Liberty Pistol. I hate the Liberty Pistol, actually. I really hate it, because it's just, the accuracy, the recoil are terrible. It doesn't do as much, it doesn't even do that much damage. It does less damage than, like, it contributes less to my DPS than my card pistol does when I tried it. And then, of course, I can't use Sweet Dreams when I do it, because it becomes my exotic. And most of the time, I don't feel like I need the repairs from it, or Technician. Definitely not on Heroic. On Legendary, there are certain situations that, yes, that's true. even then, I just simply spam dodge button in the open or even use cover and just alternate between all of that and my shield, and I'm still fine. And then I'm still able to have the fixture drone and the protection from elite buffs and the incendiary grenade, all of which I really like, especially the 10% extra protection from elites from Survivalist. That helps your shield too, as well as your armor and everything when elites are attacking you. But then also the incendiary grenades. They're just so good. They're like that. It's the only way that makes your, like, when you're not doing a grenade or gun build or whatever, at least because in a gun build you can use grenades tactically to take people out of cover, which I can also do on this guy too. But usually I'm out in the open and the enemies are too. So incendiary grenades are like the one thing that, like, the only type of grenade that actually is useful on a tank build, in my view. You set them on fire, they're no longer damaging you. If they're shield guys, their shield's off so that you can damage their armor directly. Like, they're just vulnerable too. That's why you see me, I literally toss an incendiary grenade right at my feet when melee guys are around. I've learned if there's a bunch of elite melee guys that my sweet dreams can't, one tap, then I'll just toss an incendiary grenade right on me. Because I'll just regen the armor. Again, why hazard protection is not a big deal in my view. I'll just regen all of it while they are set ablaze, and I can concentrate on them that way. As well as teammates who might be shooting them. Anyway, I'm done now. Oh, one last thing. I also realized tossing incendiary grenades on me for dealing with melee dudes is even better than you think, because Catharsis removes negative statuses whenever it pops the healing cloud. So I also notice I get out of burns quicker too. Another reason why I don't think hazard protection is as useful, because Catharsis also helps with statuses too sometimes. Like, not, obviously you can't rely on it all the time, but still, it's another thing that helps with hazard, you could say, is Catharsis too. But also, like, rezzing people, like on this guy, who's perfect for it. It's good for that too, because obviously I'm good for rezzing people, because I can survive to get people up out in the open. But then I usually, especially if I'm taking a bunch of damage, I'm usually dropping one, sometimes even multiple stacks, because it does stack multiple stacks of Catharsis healing on me and the guy I'm rezzing, so that when I res him, sometimes I'll see, especially if they're more frail DPS dudes, they'll get like all their armor back within like those 2 seconds or so, if they don't move like immediately at least, because they'll just get so much regen from the Catharsis on them. So it actually does help the teammates too. What was I gonna say? So one also, like, before we did this mission, I was actually doing my striker build, which I'm going to do a video of that too, because I've actually changed him since the last video. He's now using Bullet King instead of Pestilence, which I think is much better for his support role that he plays. And yeah, we were doing pretty good on Heroic with 4 teams, and also the guy who left was the leader after we lost, because we went into this room and we all died. And then he left after I also said I'm only going to try it once, and then I'm out. But I meant the hunters, though. I meant, like, once we get to the hunters, I'll try it once and then I'm out, because that's the biggest BS of the whole game, not just Summit, in my view still. And so yeah, he was also a real build. Like, he had all red cores, he had Striker on, Revive, Hive, Decoy. I think he had St. Elmo's engine and some other gun. Or Crusader Shield. I think he was using Crusader Shield, but with 6 like red cores. He was clearly a build, and a mostly finished build, outside expertise and stuff like that. And he was the only one, I think, because these 2 teammates here with me, when he left, I know one of them didn't have a build at all. Like, when I looked at him, he just had pretty much nothing. The other guy had some kind of skill build, I could tell, because he was using Refactor, but only 2 pieces of it, and then he was using 4 yellow pieces for some weird reason, but he was using a striker drone, and then not a turret, something else, but when I saw it, he had skill tier 6 on him, so clearly he was doing some kind of build, but I'm still not entirely sure what it was. But the other guy wasn't doing much, so I just had to get that out too, just to point out just to set up what was going on here. And again, like, Catharsis being, more important than people think as well.